real quickly about us. We've been doing this since, 1998?
Well, that's when we started teaching.
We started teaching.
Yeah.
And we, studied NLP and hypnosis and all a bunch of stuff. Went all to the guys, Bandler and Diltz and a bunch of other people you never heard of.
Pretty much, yeah.
And, we learned all this stuff. And so we go out into the real world, and we thought, wow, this would be really good for persuasion.
Yes.
And sales. Okay.
And back then, there was some persuasion, but not a lot, right? Most of it was self-help or therapy that people were using NLP for. And we decided kind of to do our own thing at that point. We met in 1997. We both were trained separately before that. Came together as a team in 98 to teach because we had the same idea of where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do with this. So we went the persuasion route. We do teach some self-help, we have our own process, but really we focused on persuasion, right?
Yeah, and it was really interesting. So we thought, okay, so we went out into the real world and, and started testing stuff. And some stuff worked okay. Some stuff did not translate into, the real world very well at all.
Some things that worked in the therapy room incredibly well didn't work so well
in a bar.
When we were in a bar. In a bar,
basically, I tested all of the stuff in a bar
with people who weren't participating.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because
they participated, but in a social way or in a business way. But people who weren't a willing subject, following what you're doing as the leader in a therapy room, it's a little bit different of a situation, of an attitude.
Because, amazingly, this might be a surprise, when you're out in the real world, they're not really giving you permission to persuade them.
Which doesn't mean that it's all right to really treat people poorly. I want to make that clear. You should still treat people well, and everything's an interaction and a relationship. And that's where our focus is in persuasion, on building relationships, long-term clients, long-term social relationships.
Yeah, because look, the contrast here is this, is that, when you're doing therapy and doing NLP and helping people get over their problems, they're saying, hi, I'm here.
Help me.
Help me.
Right.
Okay? Persuasion has to be invisible.
Right.
Okay? Because it has to be. It has to really, if it's not invisible, people look at you like you're weird. Believe me, I went, and, people
look at you like you're weird anyway. Don't worry about it.
So that made
it's part of your charm.
It made it hard to tell when I was screwing up. But
but for me it was all right. No, I'm kidding. But so yes, it should be, persuasion has to be pretty invisible. It has to fit within the norms of how we speak to people and what we normally do. Because the way the brain works, when we start seeing things that are odd, different, it's just that are too unusual, we start to become uncertain, and it creates a reaction, and it makes us want to run away. Think about it in your life when you see things that are so too out of the norm, you kind of pull back and go, what's going on here? So in persuasion, we make it part of the conversation, part of the way we normally move, part of the way we normally speak. We don't have huge vocal shifts or huge anchors, and we don't go touch people, because you can't do that in the real world. You can't do that in a business meeting. You can't do it over the phone, and you can't do it across the table. So there are too many limitations to it.
In a bar, it'll get you slapped. I'm just saying. I know. Okay?
Right.
So, I did that. All right.
Okay. All right.
So, normal conversation. All right. So, we go in, believe it or not, in a business meeting or in sales, you cannot walk up to somebody and say, think of a time you were really excited to buy a car.
Right.
Okay? Because they look at you because it's a weird question.
Well,
so we had to change stuff.
Well, not only that, but it has to fit within, they have an expectation. And in life, we have to meet people's expectations in persuasion and sales and social. And once you go outside the expectation, you're breaking the rules.
Yeah.
And they want to know, why am I in a business meeting being asked these questions? And you break rapport at that point. And as we know, rapport is the basis to any successful relationship.
Yeah, because everything we say today is going to be based upon you already having some level of rapport with someone. It makes life a whole lot easier, okay? So we're doing all this stuff, and I came across like anchoring is like really, really powerful. Okay,
Yep.
And it's universal. What I mean by this, we travel the world teaching seminars and stuff, and surprisingly, not everybody speaks English.
Really? God, what
We're
happened?
Americans.
Well,
We
except
thought
for all the
everybody
people
would learn
here.
English because we're arrogant. Okay.
No, we did not.
We are. All right. Like,
Right.
what's wrong with you? What's that German thing you're doing? All right. But so it's universal. The
Okay.
idea, it's very mechanical. You can
Right.
get someone in a good state and boom, you anchor it. All right.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what language you're speaking, that works. So,
And it also goes across social norms, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what the structure of relationships and the way we speak to people, we found out in Lithuania, people don't say, "How are you?" It's very odd.
no, if you ask somebody in Lithuania, how are you? They say,
They know you're
look at you like,
American.
what do you want?
Right.
Okay. It's like, what's wrong with you?
So the thing is, it also, so if we
It's
teach
cultural.
strategies and structures, those don't work across social boundaries, different social norms, whereas anchoring does. It's
Yeah.
easy to fit in anywhere.
All right, so so why is anchoring so
Yeah.
powerful? All right, you have to. Okay, so you have to think about something. All right, wait, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do a thing because I can. All right, all right. So I want you to think of the brain in a certain way. All right, you have this is your brain. This is your brain stem. Okay, ish.
That's a beautiful brain, Tom.
All right. Anyway, okay, so.
That's okay. That's okay.
At least it's not smooth as a marble. That would be
My
bad.
brain is very small. All right. So anyway, when it comes to behaviors and persuasion, they're only really a very complex machine. But it comes to two simple things. Okay, the inner part of the brain is the emotional part. Okay, this drives behavior, emotion.
It's very reactive.
The outer part of the brain, okay, is the logical part. All right? Now, based upon this, you have to understand, because when you're working with clients and stuff in NLP and therapy and stuff like that, you're trying to get people not to make emotional, stupid decisions. Okay? Just the opposite in persuasion.
It is true. You're generally
We're trying to get them to use
yeah.
the logical part of their brain.
You're
Okay?
trying to stop, the 4 Fs: fight, flight.
There's only 4 F's in English. You know that, right?
What? Oh, that's true. But they probably heard it across the. They probably heard it. They probably heard. They all speak English,
I know.
right?
I know.
So,
Understand it?
fornicate and food, right?
Yeah.
Which are all very reactive. See, do, as we all know, in things like phobias. See, react,
Yeah.
no thought
Yeah, see, snake,
process,
run.
right? See, snake, run. So this is what the reactive part of the brain does. We're trying to get them in therapy to the logical part of the brain. Whereas while we're using anchoring, we're trying to get someone to react. And then
Yeah.
when someone reacts, here's the interesting thing about the way we think. We used to work with he was a brain researcher, a doctor, and he explained to us that once you get someone to react and do something, how we stay sane is that we make up logical reasons that we did this, right?
Basically,
Like any
anybody ever-
decision.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have done this. We do. All right. So anybody just bought something or wanted to buy something, and then they made up a story of why it was a good decision.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we're trying.
I
to
think
get people
everybody's
to.
done that,
All
right?
So we engage the emotional part of the brain, and it kicks into a part of the brain that we call the storyteller. And the storyteller basically makes the emotional decision that you made make sense to you. Okay? It justifies making that emotional decision. And it's a mechanism that's already built into the brain, so we don't have to worry about it.
It's how we justify things and move through the world and feel good about ourselves, really,
Yeah.
and our actions.
I have a list of stuff in the other room that I can tell you that I bought for no good reason. But logically, no.
He tried to make up reasons. I just looked at him and said, just own it. You bought it because you want it. That's okay sometimes.
It's really funny. We were out. I forget.
Get
what
over it.
We were actually. I think we were buying this TV or maybe the other TV. All right, and And we're sitting there, and I'm looking at it, and I'm sitting there doing stuff. The sales guy's trying to talk me into it, and Kim finally looks at him, and what did you say?
Well, actually, this
What'd you say?
wasn't like that, but he was sitting. Well, I guess it was. He was sitting talking about the TV and all these reasons, and the salesman kept trying to sell to him, and I just stopped him. I put my hand on him. I said, "Stop."
To the
I
salesman.
said
not
to the
me.
salesman. I looked at him. I said, "Stop." He's already decided to buy it, and I've okayed it, so it's all right because I wouldn't stop him if I didn't needed to. I said he's already made his decision. He's just talking.
Close it.
Well, yeah. He's already made his decision. He's talking himself into it. You don't need to do anything else.
should shut up
I said
now.
you should be quiet. I didn't say you should be quiet. I said just let him do it. This is how he buys things. He's already made the decision. We're buying it. Let him go. And he just looked at me and smiled, and then we bought the TV. 10 minutes later, once Tom had made up all the logical reasons why he could get what he wanted.
Yeah. Believe me, that's how I ended up with a boat, a jet ski.
And that's why I'm here to stop him.
Yes, basically.
That's why we're not broke. There you go.
So,
Sorry.
the other important thing about the emotional part of the brain,
Yeah.
okay, it's the part of the brain that drives action, okay? There's not an action that you take that isn't emotionally pushed. Okay, to some degree, some smaller than others. Most of my really stupid decisions have been emotionally based. Okay,
So what we're trying to do with anchoring is direct people to the reactive part of the brain in persuasion, right? So
yeah.
to make a decision.
This one it generates movement. Okay, if people aren't tapped into the emotional part of their brain, they basically sit around thinking about doing things forever. Eventually, it's like some of these guys, they'll sit there and they'll try to scare you into taking action. Okay? Oh, if you don't do it, they'll elicit pain. Some of these salespeople elicit pain, boom, boom, into taking action. All right? So that's the part of the brain we want to
Right.
engage.